Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Startup Grind, bunch of entrepreneurs. We're here to learn about your experience. You're an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, and we think, we thought that you were one of the people that we could learn a lot from. Right? So we're just going to ask you a bunch of questions, really hard questions. And
really hard. I don't like the hard questions.
It'll be good. It'll be fun. But the first thing I think was really important, starting the question, really important is for people to know who you are and the brands that you manage, the companies or the entities that you are part of. Because a lot of people know you primarily for the radio personality. But a lot of people don't know some of the other things that you do. So you want to just give a quick 1 or 2 minutes just about the different things that you do?
To be honest, I don't know what I do now. We just do it, but of course entertainment, just mainly my background, radio. We do in-store radio and all. Of course Scorch. I now went to Mr. Hop's with the restaurant.
Everybody knew that? People knew? Yeah. You know about Mr. Hop's, yeah?
No. Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
All right, we'll tell them about that just now.
And a couple things here and there.
Okay.
What I like to call speakeasy money.
Speakeasy money, okay. So you have, so the brands I know you manage, besides just your radio personality, you do Island E-Tickets.
Right. Island E-Tickets.
Scorch, Mr. Hop's, and the in-store radio.
Yeah, which is speakeasy money as well.
Right, okay.
So,
So the first thing I wanted to ask is where do you get your inspiration? Where do you get these ideas from? How do you come up with these ideas?
Father from heaven. I don't know, I just, most of the time, my ideas would come from when I see a need for something, and I think that's, I guess, where you label me as an entrepreneur. But from ever since I was growing up, and yesterday I was thinking about it, I always had these ideas.
Right.
My grandfather would say, that boy is a dreamer, that boy is a dreamer. And I didn't understand what he was saying. He was just like, I thought he was shitting me up. But when I was speaking about it today, when I was growing up, I used to dismantle things and then pay back up, right? Or try to see how I can make it better. And I realized that's what I'll be doing now. So an idea might come about, or I'll see something that I just find should be made better. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't just always have the idea.
All right.
You might bring an idea to me and I would just, all right, I'll think about it for a while and then come up with it, Or sometimes I might just see something that needs to be done now.
Right.
And we've been doing it since growing up. So in the earlys, I became a barber.
Okay.
What
age?
Probably like 12.
Right.
Because I didn't like how my father used to cut my hair. So I started learning to cut my own hair.
Right.
So it probably was about around 12. And I used to watch. A lot of my schooling was watching and learning, for myself. Nobody really had to teach me how to do it. So I started cutting my own hair. And then cutting my cousins and they. And then all of a sudden I used to barber in the Vale.
Right. So charge people?
Yeah, what do you mean charging me? You waking me up Saturday morning, all 8 o'clock and then I'm going, hey, you want to trim, boy? You want to trim? Yeah, you getting paid, you got to pay me for that. But, so I think that's where it kind of started.
Okay.
But when I, in retrospect, I started to think back, before that, I used to be back in my backyard picking mango and avocado.
Right. And
taking it outside on the road, set up a stall, and trying to sell mango and avocado just for doing it,
Right.
I wasn't really from, my home didn't need like me going out there to sell no mango or anything, but I don't know, I just always wanted to sell something or, try to just do it. And it was never about the money, it's just, I look at it as something here to sell,
Right.
I need it. So I think that's where it really started for me. You know, and back to your question, I mean, my creativity, I don't know, sometimes, you know, I always think creative people, they're like, creative people are weird people in a way, and you might watch me and think I'm just cool and normal, but sometimes I could be a weird man, you know? And we have our moments now, and creativity is kind of really try to be creative now, you know. I need to be creative, I need to think creative. And I just can't really answer it, like I try to figure out how I come up with these things, that's
Right.
all, you know? But most of the time is when you have a need for something, you know?
So let me ask, so when you take us back to Radioactive players, right? What was the need you think at that point in time you were trying to fill?
Well, this would have been 1994. And what was going on was there was a gap. The biggest DJ in that time was Chinese Laundry.
Yeah.
And there was a big gap between Chinese Laundry and my peers, right? We'd have been about 16, 17, 18, right? But before, we always liked DJing and watching DJing, and I wanted to be a DJ. And I was up with like one DJ group before, called BBC. I don't know how they teach the people name. At that point, I wasn't thinking like, you know. Anyway, I know Robert from, he's been guest on the band, he's been playing he was the BBC. One of the DJs left and I came in and I was like, you know, that was my first DJ group.
Right.
And as time went on, I was sitting down and thinking, we need a DJ. I want to be a DJ like, I used to listen to them Stone Love cassettes and started getting into that dancehall. And in those days, dancehall started, that was like the start of the golden era of dancehall.
Right.
And you know, you were listening to Stone Love and Kilimanjaro and stuff, and yet, you know, we started to, you know, be inspired by this. I want to do that too, you know? And I think that's when the whole Radioactive thing came up, where, you know, I was home one day just thinking, my partner next door, my best friend, he introduced me to the dancehall thing, and we said, like, we get a very formal group, but we used to rap before. So he was the rapper and I was the DJ. And I say, you know, this rapping thing and go jet. Ironically, our name was Masters of Creativity, MOC. That was our rap group name.
Okay.
I say, that name kind of long to be a DJ group, boy. Masters of Creativity, and this wasn't clicking. So I did home this Saturday morning, listening to Laundry, and trying to come up with names. Why I could call myself, boy. And then the whole Radioactive thing came up. And I come up and I say, I feel like I didn't even know Radioactive. Yeah. It just so happened that he left. I went away, he migrated. So it was me alone, and it was on the back burner for a bit. And my crew at the time was a kind of a cool crew. It was Jules Sobian. His father was the AG at that point.
Right.
So, you know, we kind of wilding out. Fuzzy, father was the brigadier. So there's a bunch of fellas from St. Mary's and all over. We just, you know, and we say, you know what, we throw a party. First party was 747. The plane never take off, right? The party was the Friday when school closed. The Thursday, party ram before the party sell out. Friday morning, when you go into Saturday venue, they ask, so where they bar license? You go, bar what? What's a bar license? Oh, you don't get a bar license? You can't have a party without a bar license and dance license. He's like, what? So we say, well, all right, don't worry about that. We are that covered. Call Uncle Keith. He told us, we need a, what's a bar license? We need a bar license. How are they going to get a bar license? Court was yesterday. So nothing we could do, watch me, instant sickness with me. I get fever, everything, right? Party never happened, that was the summer. The December now, we said we were going again. we decided to call the party Players Inc. I don't know why. I think it was Biggie Small. So excuse me for that. I'll deal with that. Yeah, I think it was Biggie or something influenced that. This would have been 95, the end of 95. And the Players Inc. came up. And we said Players Inc. would promote Radioactive.
All right.
You know? And that is the story behind Players and Radioactive was launched just like that. We didn't really have a big launch or anything. Just throw a party. Everybody came to the party ram. And we got to showcase what we was doing all the time behind the scene as Radioactive. And we realized that we bridged the gap because the same day BAP, who was like the promoters for laundry, at that time had a party that same time. And our party was ram. And it's like, we realized, you know, there's a difference. There's a space for us. And Players Inc. went on and, you know, started doing parties and people started to hate us. And he continuing me all to this day now. So you guys are still hating.
Let me ask you, you mentioned you the only one on Radioactive at that point in time. Well, when your boy went away, when your neighbor went away. It
was just me and then the other guy started.
So you brought other people on to be part of the crew. Like, what I'm trying to ask is, did you just continue by yourself and then other people came to you? Or did you say, let me recruit people and then we will continue?
Yo, that thing I think when I watch like Scorch, people just fall in here and just stay. Like, you know? You know, and just find a home now.
Right.
So my house in the Vale was like a clubhouse.
Right.
So then people in Radioactive that didn't used to do nothing now, and they named us getting called. You know, so it was something like a crew thing. I was the DJ. John Boy, I don't know if you might be familiar with John Boy. John Boy used to live down the road, he used to come up the road with his records to learn to spin and thing, and you know, he was spinning off, and I had to teach him how to spin. And DJ Dean was with the next DJ group, and one day he just get fed up. Because, I mean, we was just doing the thing, and we started with the Players Inc. And he was getting frustrated. He say, he come with all the records and bring by me one day and say, I done. I forgetting what DJ thing, I done that. I say, boy, come to you, boy, cool yourself. Try it, just go. Until he was really, like, hungry for it. And we pull him in. And me and the started to get pulled in, you know, but everybody else was just, my partners are wrong.
Right.
Being Radioactive, we'd find Chris Leacock, for example, who's chilling here. Chris ended up being our web guy, the man who used to build Radioactive website, which, in retrospect, when I think about it today, we will probably what Facebook and thing is today, back then, because we had a message board that everybody used to run home to see what was posted on the message board. Kwesi's a fool. This one sleeping with this one and a man. And you just reading all the feed that's coming down the road, and you just there looking. If I know that back then, the internet would know. We think I'm gonna be talking about. But so, you know, Radioactive itself just became, and I guess fellas on the Vale and all started to feel like, yo, I want to be part of this thing, and,
right.
You know, part of this movement. And then it transcended to my boys in Woodbrook, Kofi and all them fellas coming on, being it, and it was just a whole big crew.
So you think it was serendipitous? You think it's just natural it will happen spontaneously? Or do you think you had a part to play in trying to recruit the people to come in and really be part of something that you were building?
Well, I think they was going with my vibes, you know?
Okay.
And I guess thinking about it now, like, I'm almost a perfectionist when it comes to certain things, you know. And for example, Radioactive, in those days, I mean, we used to be practicing all the time in the back by me and just trying to do it. And anybody who come there, you know, is to try to, let me see what you could do now. Like, you know?
Right.
And they started to live the life of it. And I think it just transcended onto everybody else who was around to start to try to do something, you know. So everybody start want to be a part of it. What is their role now? What they could do to fit in. So I don't think I was like going out there directly trying to recruit people, but I think people just wanted to be part of this big thing that was happening. And I mean, just thinking about it now, it's like now when you asking these questions, I just try to think about how come this happened, like, you know, to the point that we started making people drink Guinness.
Right.
You know, back in those days, Guinness was trying to get back in the market, and this brilliant guy named Nigel Lobo just say, yo, them youth man, I want to, you know, endorse them. I want Radioactive to be the Guinness song. They had Stone Love in Jamaica was the Guinness song, and then Lil Rick in Barbados. And he just said, all right. So when I look back now, only Marshall had a Pepsi deal or something like that. In those times, well, before that, you know, but there was no DJ being signed to like a corporate, like the corporate Trinidad.
Right.
So we had jerseys with Radioactive and Guinness, and you know, we get small money, yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing to say, well, yo, we rich. But this is the fact that we had that, you know, and it's just level Guinness on a Friday evening. Where Nouveau Ceres, that was Goofy's house. That was Damien house. And we used to be there every Friday. We call it the wall. All kind of things happen on that wall. I ain't gonna tell you all these stories, but one of the things we did for Guinness was the Champion Cup. That once you pass by that wall to line with us, you had to go to Champion Cup competition, which was who could drink Guinness the fastest. Right?
Right.
I ain't gonna tell you how much men pass out with that. But you know, we started to push Guinness, and it was a whole Guinness thing, and Guinness and all become a part of us and a part of the family, and you know, so it was just a vibe, and I think that goes on up to now, even with Scorch, you know, a lot of guys in Scorch just fall in, just reach one day and they never leave, you know. It has some people left, you know, thanks. But,
I want to ask you a question. So, you know, a lot of times people will go to their friends and family first when they start an idea. They have an idea, go to friends and family to try to help them build this idea. How do you fire your friends?
Oh, fire them?
Yeah.
No, I do fire friends.
Seriously?
That's a big problem with me, yeah. Like, I can't. I just, you know, I think that's one of my downfalls at the same time, you know, like, I can never fire my friend.
Right.
You know, I'll curse, I'll get on bad, we might fight and all. But for me to say, boy, you're done, you know, like, I really can't do it, you know.
So you just wait till you think?
I just wait till they move on.
Okay.
I never really fire anybody, like, a few people I had to fire. And it's only because I had to.
Right.
Sorry. Whoever you are. But, you know, I don't like doing that job.
Right.
And I'm very sorry. So I give people jobs just so like that. And I don't even have the money to get them, to pay them. But, you know, I shouldn't be saying that, no. Well, a job, right? Yeah. But, you know, that's one side of me. That's, people do me what they want in a way. And until I really reach that point.
Right.
You
know? Let's talk about where you are today. So, talk about what brought you to get the idea of Hops, Mr. Hops. And for those who don't know Mr. Hops, well, you tell them, yeah.
So, I bought a house in Santa Cruz. Don't ask me why I bought quite in the fog. I used to call it the fog, by the way. But I was living in Santa Cruz for a couple of years, and they have no food in Santa Cruz other than McGill Sharon Roti Shop, where the best roti, I think probably one of the best in Trinidad. I didn't eat all the roti in Trinidad, but Sharon Roti Shop, and then they have some people inside the village. And I was like, but they have no food. And one day I keep driving, and I seen like a man building up an ugly building. I was like, don't tell me you're going to put apartments there, you know. That's an ugly building there. One day, but you know when something just like calling you? So one day I stopped by and asked him, man, so what is he doing here? See, looking up like a kind of mall, like a, you know? I was like, Oh, all right. So then one time I started to think,
Opportunity.
there's an opportunity, I'll be honest, I don't know one ass about food. I don't know nothing. I just running like a madman. Santa Cruz need a food shop, a food place. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Selling food. So I started to go wild, thinking, coming up with all these things, what we could do. What do you need? What would make sense? And I went to Miami one day and I started order equipment. I tell you, I was just like, I go in on what people tell me to buy. I ain't sell show, I go and sell. I know I want to sell pizza because they have no pizza up there.
Right.
And I had to sell chicken because. Right?
Right.
And I just started. The name though was a problem. And
What was your first name you came up with?
I was thinking of all kind of names, and then it was just not coming, But this guy in the radio keep calling me Mr. Hops, the cleaner. Mr. Hops. I was like, I started asking people, what do you think if I call you Mr. Hops? I really like that name. But the difficulty with that though, and I experienced it now, and I knew what happened. People come and think we're selling hops. So people just reach my place. I'm 10 hops, it's really dumb. You don't sell hops there, you sell like pizza and barbecue. And old people in them, they're like, what? Hey, hops! Hey, the name is Mr. Hops! Well, it's a long story, but the name is Hopkinson, and it's shortened it Hops. Oh, you see this? I got to do all the long people to you, right? Bakery. But the plan actually was to try to sell hops. Coming from entertainment business, you put in $10, you're going to get 100. You're expecting to get 100, When you go into food business now, it's a much different, it's a whole different ball game,
Tell us what you learned so far.
The margins, any little thing could just, wastage, you have, staff, you have, all kind of theft, you have everything that could just, staff, theft, spoilage, wastage, everything is just, creditors come in and they say, well, we need money and if 40 days done, it's 30 days done and whatever. So, unlike with events, you're doing one event, you spend $10 and you open to make 100. And that's what I accustomed doing for the longest while. So, and that, to be quite honest, I think that has, kind of damaged me in a sense that in my thinking, like anything I do now, I think if I put out this, I want to make at least double. I don't need some lose. I don't want to stay, and that business showing me that things just take a little longer.
Right.
Which I don't have patience for. Because I really onto the other thing.
Right.
I'm not a micromanager. I don't like to stay in one place. I can't do that. I just like to create, to be quite honest. So I learn a lot about myself and about, business like that through this Mr. Hobbs experience,
What is your favorite superhero? Oh.
Batman. Other than he's rich, Batman don't have no superpower, and he's had to come up with some innovative things and ways to defeat his nemesis, and I think that's me now, I don't have a real talent. I'm almost like Didi. Didi don't carry. People say I look like Didi and stuff, but Didi can rap. Didi can rap and he's the richest rapper.
Right.
Okay. So, call me black. Call me Batman, not Black Man, Batman. Even though
So I know you started fashion business before, in clothing, and you closed it down.
nonsense.
Talk, explain.
Unless you're selling bootleg, I ain't trying to sell anybody, but unless you're selling bootleg stuff, in Trinidad in particular, that's the only way you make money in fashion. Or cheap stuff, which I didn't want to be a part of, you know? I didn't want my name to be a part of imitation or, you know, falseness or anything like that. Because it was easy to put a store in town and sell cheap stuff and make a bag of money, you know? And that's not me. I don't want to be, if I sell you something, you know, I want you to get your money's worth now.
Right.
And maybe there's a problem for me. I don't know if there's an entrepreneur. I don't know if I could be called an entrepreneur because I have some sort of value and morals when it comes to these things.
Entrepreneurs do.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you see some people, I mean, they're filthy rich over selling nonsense, you know?
Right.
But when we started clothing, I was probably the first man bringing in like diesel to Trinidad. I mean, I went directly to diesel. I was bringing in stuff, G-Star. I was bringing in stuff that, you know, Trinidad didn't know about at that point. Only a few people. And I guess with the internet and E-Zone and all these people, it started to become a little, you know, oversaturated with, and then there are all kind of stores opening, and men laundering their money with all kind of thing, and you know, this. It's plain talk, right?
Yeah.
So that was going on. And Trinidad is a place where they hot and sweaty now. So you start something now, it's hot and sweaty, and then next week, them go on, them on to something else. But something that really just turned me off. A day I was in 51, and my partner Peter said, "My boy, I don't know how you do this, you know, but I feel it for you." A man keep asking him where he got that shirt, and he say, but he don't want to tell him only because he want to be the only man wearing. You know, you want to tell him his secret where he's shopping now.
Yeah.
So he said the man asking him whole night where he get the shirt. So he say, I get it by Hoppa, right? He say, boy, you get it by you give me your money?
Serious.
Yeah. You think?
Right.
So and that, to me that was like, because I mean I trying to provide something, I trying to bring, you know, quality a service is unnecessary. Why you trying to fight me, you know? Not to mention he's another brother, you know?
Right.
And that kind of just totally turned me off. I was like, yo, I just don't want to do this anymore. My right hand said more, I told him, man, if you want to go and run with it. And that was that, you know? I don't want no part of the clothing business. It's a tough market. You know, everybody could feel they could sell clothes. That's the next thing. As I started doing it, everybody started to pop up a day. This one had Metro, this one had this one. Everybody feel like they could do something. Which to me, I don't mind. I don't mind being, you know, trendsetting or, you know, inspiring people to aspire what I do or what I've done. But you see when you're just coming in, like, just because you feel I am on hype or you feel it, you know, money or whatever, to me that is, you know, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm a little too creative just to be doing, to start trying to sell clothes.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that. I went to the store one day, I lied. Actually, the second or third day when we opened the store, I was like, yo, this is real boring, this ain't in the store, man. I coming back. Never came back. Same thing with the restaurant too. I was like, this is real boring, but I just waiting for people to come. You know, I really don't have that patience. You know, people tell me I never was diagnosed with it, but they say I have ADD.
Right.
Well, I think they tell me they have the worst kind of ADD, like something, ADHD. Yeah, I ready to leave now. Was it time? We here a little too long. No, I play. But yeah, so that and all tell me like this is not my kind of style. That's not my business I want to be in. I just want to create stuff.
Right.
I want to create business. If you want to partner with me in that business, then you do it. I'll create it or tell you that we should make it this way. And I think that's from coming up and this watching and learning, because as I said, I didn't go to school. When I was saying that this morning, I didn't go when my peers went off to college and university and whatever. I didn't want to go to school. I hated school.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and I could blame it on Trinity and wherever, but I really got turned off of school. And while they,
May I ask why?
Well, when I went to Trinity, boys will be boys. Yeah. But Trinity had the wildest set of boys. Like, I ain't lying. Like, when I went to the Trinity, I was like, "Oh, this year, why?" I put on Trinity, I didn't even know what Trinity was. I really wanted to go to QRC, so big up all them QRC men in here. But, so Form 1, when I went to the Trinity, I was like, wait, here, Muka, wait, so you had to go quite up there and all kind of things. I was like, yo, I want to get to QRC. By Form 2, my mother was asking me, so you don't want to get the transfer to QRC anymore? I said, well, QRC? No, boss. Trinity was just the wildest of the wildest. You just, and it was just breeding. Trinity was breeding some kind of talent that I can't even explain it.
Right.
You're beating lunchtime, you're beating on your desk.
A lot of people in entertainment from Trinity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But one of the things I always remember in Trinity was the teachers, and I always say it on the radio, like, teachers are a real important part of a young boy, in particular a boy, but men and women. The teacher, they spend the most of the day with teachers.
Right.
So they're so important. And if you come into teaching and you don't love the people that you're teaching and you want to see them do, to succeed or whatever, don't teach, because you're messing up some youth men's lives. The teachers at that point used to tell us, we can't wait for you all to leave. They wasn't telling us go to sixth form. So when I reached my third form, fourth form, one thing, it was like, I can't wait for Form 5 to leave. And most of us leaving with nothing. We coming out with 2 and 3 passes. Like, if I remember leaving Trinity must be with 3 2s. And that was it. I was like, I good. I done. And then the reality hit you. Because when you start a line with your partners who go in St. Mary's and Fatima, them talking about sixth form, and then university. University was never a thought in my head.
Right.
But anyway, fast forward, we came down, my partners and they all went away to school, whatever. And I was like, but I don't even want to go to school. I want to DJ. I want to be a DJ.
What your parents said?
No. And I think I was saying it today again, like, I don't know if it's the government, because I really never studied too much, but I think it changed in government in the 90s to the 2000s. It diversified the economy, right? But back in those days, you had to be working 8 to 4 or doing something like, you have a job.
Right.
Being a DJ, a producer, a designer, them things wasn't considered real jobs back then. You understand? What you doing? You're wasting your time. So my parents chained me up to get into an engineering program with MIC. So I was like, all right. So their trick was to tell me how much money you can make. Now, hold on. The only reason why I studied money is how much records and dubplates I could buy. Right? So my aunt comes to me and say, yo, this program coming up, you could be a mechanical engineer or welding engineer, whatever, and you can just do it in the meantime now. you know you want to be, you know, you're doing the DJ and whatever. So I take the chain, I'm gonna join the thing, right? Some company from Germany, I forget the name of it now. But it was a big, everybody else was in the program. Well, most of the people in the program want this now. Like they appreciating this whole thing, this is for them, you know? And me and DJ Dane and whoever, we was like, me and know why we here, Jack. You understand? And so I started this diploma, if you want to call it that. It was like a degree, it was 3.5 years. I was like, what? And I went in and immediately I was like a crack shot in welding. Right? And the man was like, you did this before? I said, nah. And then I used to put my work all over the place. But I hated it. I just didn't like it at all. Until I went to Wassa and meet the grown man. And I was like, yo, I can't do this. I can't do this in my life. I can't live like that, man. Them fellas that I'm making, I ain't lying. This is 1995, 96, no, about 96. These fellas making $20-something thousand in 1996 over overtime and thing. And at the next 2 weeks, they broken. You know, they drunk. They have woman problems. They have 10 million children all over the place. And even though, I mean, I learned a lot from Wassa, and that's being in Wassa. I said again, being a part of the whole culture of it now. And then one day I was like, yo, I can't do this. But they ship more than some by Peaks to work. And I reached by Peaks. And Peaks was breeding robots. They're doing this whole day. And the second week in Peaks, boy, they call a meeting, and Roy Peak walk in. I watch everybody and say, I could curse. I'm probably editing. Whoever don't want to fucking be here, get the fuck out. There are 1,000 people waiting to come in. Everybody's my complexion. Right? Who you talking to? I watching this white man. I was like, I went home. I cried. I said, Mommy, I'm not going back in there. I'm not going back there. I don't care what they do. No. Coincidentally, my father was away. My father was in New York. I can never tell my father I ain't going back to school. Right? I said, I ain't going back there. I don't care what they do. And tears in my whatever. I said, they either find me somewhere else to go, or I said, I done. And then eventually I said, I done, and I would never, ever work for that and something like that, or with anybody like that. And I think that was really my motivation to never go back to Peaks. I would never, ever, you better say kill me, you know? And that experience, I think, is what really fueled me to just started, I had to make it, I had to do it, you see this DJ thing, I had to do it. And I used to watch my partners and them still in there, you know?
Right.
It's like, I used to feel sorry for them now. You know, I used to feel real sorry because I know the treatment in there was like dogs. It was just like treating like robots. Like they don't give about, you know. And I had a problem, and that's why I had a problem with education. I started to see the world in a different, a different scope, a different lens. And I had a problem with education after, because I started to realize like education is built to keep society in check.
Right.
You know, if you're not very brilliant coming out of the ghetto, you will stay right there, right? And if you have the money, I have a partner who went to school for about 10,000 years. My father keeps sending him, and until he get a degree, he's just going to university. You know what I'm saying? Until he get that degree. And I was like, and I was going to big universities, and their parents are spending that money, you know, and they not, I know them fellas ain't really that bright to be going to the kind of universities he was going to. And then I started to watch society. I was like, yo, education messed up. You know, if you don't have the money to pay for a better education, crap up, smoke your pipe, you know,
right.
catch yourself, you know. And that's the reality, and that's why I started to watch. And I was like, yo, I don't want my kids to not, you know, have the opportunities now that the rest of the fellas would have. So it's a motivation to even try to do it. Because I mean, money don't even govern me. I don't have money in my pocket.
Maybe tell me you don't really care about the money too
the
much.
actual money, I don't need to have money. You understand? But if I want something, I want it. Ask them for this. Ask them. I borrowed $20 from them because I don't have money on me. I just want to go by the shop and let me get 20. You understand? I don't walk with money because I see what money has done to people. You know, money could be a worst enemy, Jay. And I see relationships break up bad over money. You know, that thing. So I really hate it. But I just love what it could buy. You know, I love the life you can live off of money. Right. So I'm still doing it. And I mean, I want my kids and their kids, and you know, to be comfortable at least.
I remember you saying, you think that being a DJ had taught a lot about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Tell the audience what you
so as I said, my peers went to college. At 18, when I told my mother, yo, I ain't going back to MIC, I done. I knew that day that I couldn't ask her for a cent. I couldn't ask my father for nothing, right? I just knew it had to be, you know, make it or break it, you know, crash and burn. And I remember that I never asked them for anything. So, and then the DJing, as I started going with it, Radioactive, they had a bunch of other fellas trying to be like us, or be DJs actually. And we had to really come with some clever ways of becoming better than them. Or, you know, so it started to teach me how to promote, how to market, you know. When I had some class, I had to study and analyze the next opponent, you know. So being a song system that clashing, I should have really said, really taught me a lot about, you know, the science of business and opposition and you know, trying to conquer, to come up on top. Then we started, you know, we had to promote our own parties, you know. What's our unique selling point? What it was, you know. So we had a color. Yellow was our color. You know what I'm saying? You know, what we do, we use the element of surprise. And when everybody else have a routine, we don't do a routine. We just go with what the vibes. So we started that, you know, have things that would have. What do I use now in my later years? Like these things I was doing in Radioactive days. Right. And a lot of the DJs that came up in that era in particular, because we studied the bar so high that they had to come at that as well. And I think that was our university, being on the radio, in particular 96.1 with Chow and them. They I always tell people that's the institution. You can't, when you learn inside there, you learn life. You know, you start to learn politics. You start to learn what here going on. You match this man corn, you understand? You go have repercussions to that, to the way you just do there now. So you start to learn politics and social politics. You know, and all that taught me all in one. So then you're making money. When your friends and them still living off their parents, you start to make money. You know, and it gives you a sense of independence. So when they were learning in theory, I was actually doing the practical. So the opportunity, I mean, I can't say I would never, like, if I had to go back and do it again, I'd do it all over again.
Same way?
Because, you know, we was living like rock stars, I ain't lying. Like, in the early 2000s, we come into a party, it's about 2 maxi full. We rolling like, not even Marshall had an entourage like mine. My squad was so deep, you know, like it's a whole NFL team coming in your party. You know what I'm saying? And people wanted that.
Right.
That's the thing about it. We made that and all cool. Man, it's a you know what's meant to ask you though. Hey, Radioactive, come. Man, waiting outside. Well, I'm gonna carry a crate now. You know what I'm saying? Come. Let's go in. And, you know, once the weenie party is vibes, you know. So, DJing, and I've been trying to do a summer camp for the younger, you know, the young teenagers coming up. Because for that first half of growing up, late teens and whatever, that was my school. You know, that was my bachelor's degree right there.
Right.
Because I see my partners coming back and still can't make the money I'm making. That's, you know, I charging you $5,000 to come to your party, and I have 4 of them all over Trinidad. I can't do them. I had to split up my team and I get double. You know, and so that weekends I coming home with $25,000-$30,000 on a weekend. Now, next week I know where that money going, and I see that was like, I mean, a reality check started hit, because Patrick Patel tell me one day, he say, Hoppy, they're going to build some towers, things in my Roxy. You should try to get one of them, because trust me, the thing, I was like, all right. I go and by the people to ask them about this thing. They say, well, you have to put down $100,000, and then next 3 months you have to put down the next. So you mean what? Oh, I get $100,000. Them days I, you know what I'm saying? But in retrospect, when I think about it, like, I was making that money easily, you know. But I didn't have anybody at that point to act to say, hey, give me that money and you know. So I was really just learning on my own and money management, and it's just something I hate doing. I hate dealing with it. You know what I'm saying? I know one road place, I have one road place, normal, and, you know, they're selling over $3 million, but, you know, as I say,
right.
what am I saying, Bassy? So,
yeah.
You know?
You want to open it up to the audience? You want to ask questions? Everybody get quiet.
What are some of the challenges that you encountered with any publishing business, specifically Scorch?
All right. Publishing Scorch. Scorch on its own is a challenge, because when I started Scorch, if you don't mind, I'll give you a story before Scorch, right? Scorch was a product from Soul. Soul was my first magazine. So it's a local entertainment. You know, I told me we had a story to tell people want to know about Bungie and Marshall and whatever. People don't give a shit about them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So after my first issue of Soul, I was like, yo, this is rubbish. I don't want to produce this anymore. I trade away. I started thinking, well, I just like I like how magazines being laid out. I don't even read most of them. I just like how the layout of it and how the pictures and the wording and typography and stuff. That's what I like. That's what I really like. And I was like, I think we need a magazine that just tells the story of, it's like Scorch to me is like a history book. If you pick up a Scorch from 5 years ago, it will tell you what was happening at the time in society. And telling you what to do, what's hot, who's the hot girl. And when I say sex sells, so I had to get some girls. So I used to watch Maxim, you know, magazine in particular. And I like the way Maxim used to speak there. And I like, you know, obviously like the girls. And so the first challenge was trying to put this that wouldn't come across as a punch. And it's a very thin line now. And then getting girls to agree to come and, you know, in conservative Trinidad, you know, where plenty Roman Catholics live. How we get them to pose, and, you know, these young girls to come and shoot, and, you know, we had plenty challenges, not making a shoot, not being a slutty shoot, to a classy shoot. And I mean, it's very hard. It's like, Riley and all you tell you, I mean, I would never put a crotch shot in the magazine. You would never get that past me. But, you know, some photographers could do it and some photographers can't do it. And you had to have that vision and direction today. So that's the first challenge. Second challenge is getting advertisers to say, you know, I'll come on to this. The banks will still not advertise with us up until the last issue is in, because they just think it's a little too edgy for them now.
Yeah.
When everybody reading the magazine banking with you, I mean, to me is a no-brainer. You understand? Everybody had to bank the money somewhere else. And this is my problem in Trinidad, because we're still thinking 10, 20, 30 years ago, where the country, the world, Trinidad is so close to America or Europe or wherever because of the smartphone and whatever. And these older heads not, adjusting and moving with the times. So that was a big issue, getting the corporate Trinidad or more of them to come on and support the magazine. The magazine is a free magazine. I would never wanted to pay. Because sold was $15 and we sold about 50, right? And that's probably 50 of my friends just saying, I don't think magazines would ever sell in Trinidad. We're not a reading population. We see it now with Instagram, Twitter. We're not reading like that. People used to be surprised that they had decent articles in Scorch. It's just like if I tell you go and read a Playboy, you would be surprised that Playboy is one of the best editorials you could get in a magazine. So that was some of the challenges. And then picking deadlines. Deadlines, in publishing, deadlines, forget about deadlines. Trying to print on paper and get the right costing, and to me, because we live in a two world, and I think people still want to feel something tangible now. Advertisers in particular, they don't want to pay for something that they don't really want to pay something on the internet. They can't feel it. You want to pay for something, you want to feel it.
Right.
And that's a challenge in itself. So we had to keep you doing the magazine to the point now where I'll tell you here straight, like we stopped the magazine, we put it on hold because we thinking the whole thing. The magazine gets dated quickly now, faster than before, because of things like Instagram, Twitter, all these things. People want now for now stuff, and that physical magazine itself is becoming a challenge, on top of the other challenges we have. So that's basically some of the challenges we had, and then collecting your money. Number one challenge.
Another question from the audience.
It's really simple. What drives you? What really drives you?
Fear.
Fail. Why fail?
I tell you, I don't want to go back to peaks. I'm afraid to fail. I hate to fail. If you see me going into a competition, how trivial it could be. They asked me to ride a race in South against Charles and TC and Ganga and all them. I am not going to lose that race. Regardless of what it is, I'm going to study what I do to win that race. And that's me, right? But I am just afraid, really and truly, to be poor, right? I don't need to be filthy rich, but when I watch, I go to the hospital and I see my grandmother has to go to the hospital, and it's break me down because I don't want her there in the hospital. We said this stinking hospital there we have in Port of Spain, and then I watch around the hospital and see some old men. That's bad. I had a fear of living too old, living too long now. Why shitting on myself and and broken. That's a big fear of mine. I just don't want to do it. And I think that in itself is what's really that when that fear started kicking, I was just started to get panic attacks. I was check yourself. And sometimes I just need to get that kick in, especially when I started this ease off, to kick me up and say, we had to go again, And some of the places I do is Jamaica. Because in Jamaica, in particular, I get a reset. Anytime I go to Jamaica, it's just reset me. Because I see poverty and then I see wealth. Like you don't believe. And fellas traveling in private jets. And then they have people who just dirt poor, you know? But at the same time, they're happy. And everybody, and they have plenty culture and whatever. So it's just it's a reset that's got. So that's basically my thing.